Harold's origins. Harold is based on the short story Harold from the first book in Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories for Telling in the Dark series, published in 1981. In the original story, Harold is a scarecrow created by two farmers, Thomas and Alfred, who use him as an object of ridicule. They sew him out of old clothes, give him a name, and even mock him as if he were alive. In time, however, Harold comes to life, begins to make strange noises, and then takes cruel revenge on his creators. One of the farmers he beats to death, and another is forced to flee in terror. At the end of the story, Alfred's skin is found stretched out like a hide on the roof of the house, hinting that Harold has completed his revenge. In the movie, the story is adapted. Harold is not directly connected to the farmers, but becomes part of the curse of Sarah Bellows's book. His victim, Tommy, did not create it, but is punished for his actions of bullying others. This change emphasizes the theme of retribution that runs throughout the film, where each monster from the book chooses its victim based on their behavior or connection to the main characters. Appearance and design. Harold in the movie is the epitome of the classic scarecrow, with elements that enhance his creepiness. His body is assembled from crude materials, a wooden cross as a frame, straw padding. His clothing is a shabby farmer's jacket and pants, and his head is a sack with crudely drawn facial features. The design is inspired by Stephen Gammell's iconic illustrations that accompanied Schwartz books. Unlike typical Hollywood monsters, Harold appears more physically tangible through practical effects, which adds to his realism and heightens the sense of menace. When he comes to life, his movements are abrupt and unnatural, like a marionette being controlled by an unseen force. This emphasizes his supernatural nature and his connection to Sarah's curse. In the scene with Tommy, Harold uses a long metal bar to attack, which makes him even more sinister. Role in the film. In the film, Harold appears in one of the first stories in Sarah Bellows's book. The scene takes place at night in a cornfield, where Tommy, drunk and angry after being thrown out of the house for yet another misdemeanor, is walking through the field. The book tells his fate, and Stella and her friends read the text that appears on its pages, a story about a scarecrow named Harold. As they read, events unfold in reality. Tommy notices that Harold, previously motionless, begins to move, chases him, and eventually stabs him with a knife. At the climax, Tommy's body disappears, and in Harold's place appears a new scarecrow dressed in Tommy's clothes, symbolizing his transformation into part of the nightmare. This scene sets the tone for the entire film, showing how the book embodies fears and punishes people. Harold is not just a random monster here, but a tool with which Sarah Bellows, whose spirit is bound to the book, takes revenge on the world for her suffering. His choice of victim, Tommy, is linked to his previous bullying of Stella and her friends, underscoring the moral subtext: evil comes back to those who do it. Cultural significance and symbolism. Harold as a scarecrow is an archetypal image rooted in folklore and rural mythology. Scarecrows have long been associated with crop protection, but at the same time with something sinister. Lone figures in the fields were often perceived as something supernatural, especially in the dark. The movie reinforces this image through its connection to the book and the idea of the animation of the inanimate, echoing classic stories such as Frankenstein or the legends of golems. In the context of scary stories, Harold also reflects the American tradition of horror, where ordinary things, toys, dolls, scarecrows, are transformed into sources of terror. His simplicity, wooden frame and straw, contrasts with his ability to kill, which makes him even more frightening. It also symbolizes a connection to nature and rural life, which is contrasted in the film with the urban environment of Mill Valley, where the action takes place. The connection to Sarah Bellows's book. Sarah's book is the centerpiece of the movie, and Harold is one of its authors. Sarah, a young woman from a wealthy family, was wrongly accused of poisoning children in the city because of her family's actions in contaminating the water with mercury. She was imprisoned in a mental hospital where she wrote her horror stories in blood. After her death, the book became a conduit for her revenge. Harold, like other monsters, like Jangly Man or Pale Lady, emerges from these stories to punish those connected to Sarah's grief or the characters who stole the book. In Harold's case, his victim, Tommy, has no direct connection to Sarah's past, but is targeted because of his cruelty, emphasizing the film's overall theme of karma.